Alright, in this section I'll be going over formulas. So first of all, we have D equals RT. I call it the DIRT formula. We know D is equal to distance. R is equal to the rate, which in this case we probably call the speed. And then finally T is the time, which is normally in hours. So in this case, notice they want us to find the distance, so we're finding D. And notice 80 miles per hour, that's our speed or our rate. And the time is 3 hours. So the distance equals the rate, which is 80, times the time, which is 3 hours. And so we'll get 240. Now, we should give the right measure for this. The distance is going to be in miles since we're going miles or traveling miles per hour. And so it's 240 miles. Now if you think about this, this makes sense. If you're going 80 miles per hour, that means every hour you go 80 miles. So in 2 hours you would go 160 miles, 2 times 80. In 3 hours you would go 3 times 80 or 240 miles. Alright, so on number 2 we're using the interest formula I equals PRT. And notice they've given us P, R, and T. Now I is for interest, P is for the principal or the starting amount, R is the interest rate. Notice we wrote it as a decimal here. This is 4.5%. And the time is 3. But we're just going to, we always, when we do our calculations, we'll let R be in decimal form. So this one's a lot like the one we just did. We just need to plug in the numbers and we'll multiply the right side and we'll have our answer. So 500, that's how much basically we put into the bank. The interest rate, 0.045. And the time is 3 years. So if you multiply that out, this is going to be money. It's 67.5, which we would write as 6750. So that's how much interest you'll earn after 3 years. It's not a whole lot, but $500 is not a lot to save. All right, let's look at number 3. In fact, I would like you to try 3 and 4, and then go ahead and turn the video on and you can see how to do those. See if you did the work correctly. All right, let's see how you did. So notice here they're giving us the width and the length, and they're asking us for P. So it's like the last two that we did. 2 times W, which is 5, plus 2 times L, which is 8. That's going to be 10 plus 16, and so you get 26. Now normally it would be in like feet or inches or some measure. Since they didn't give us the measure, we just say 26. Number 4, P is 50. Notice this is going to be a little different. W is 4, so 2 times 4, plus 2L. And they're asking for L, so notice this is an equation that we need to solve. So we could simplify the right side. This would be 8 plus 2L. Now, normally the variables first. If you want, you could write 2L plus 8. But either way, we're going to end up, this is a two-step equation. We'll subtract 8 on both sides. And I'll go over here. 50 minus 8 is 42. That's our left side. On the right, these guys add up to 0. And we're going to have 2L. And you can do that in your head or just divide both sides by 2. You're going to get L is 21. And again, we don't have the measure, so we'll just say 21. All right, number 5. Sorry my table is shaking here. I'm not using the one I usually use. Let's move on to number 5. In fact, you might try it and then watch the video, and even 6 and 7 are similar types of problems. And if you want, see if you can do them and then watch the video. All right, so let's go ahead and look at number 5. Notice this time we're looking for A, so we're going to have B and H, which they did give us. So we have A equals 1/2 times B, which is our base, or the bottom of the triangle. This is the formula for triangles. By the way, the one we were just working with is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. So let's see, B here is 12, and H is 7. Of course, you could just multiply this out using your calculator, but it's pretty easy math. When you take half times 12, that's just half of 12, which is 6. And then you still have to multiply by the 7. You end up with 42. And again, we don't have the units, so we'll just stop right there. All right, on number 6, it says convert the all-time high temperature in Dallas of 112 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius. So notice we have the Fahrenheit temperature, so we're going to plug that in here. That's 112, and it's equal to 9/5 C plus 32. So we need to solve this equation for C so that we'll have the Celsius temperature. Now, there's a couple of ways we could do this. I'm going to go ahead and use our LCD, which is 5, and I'm going to multiply both sides by 5, so each term will get multiplied by 5. And then, hold on a second, I'm going to get another color here. Okay. So just to save some space, I normally would write this over and then multiply both sides by 5, but I don't have a lot of room here, so I'll just go ahead and multiply by 5 times each term. And when I do that, the fractions should be cleared. So 5 times 112, you should get 560. 5 times 9/5, well, the 5's cancel, and you're left with 9C. Now you could just multiply 5 times 9/5 on your calculator. You'll get the same answer. On the other side, or the other term here, 32 times 5, you get 160. So now this is much easier. This is a two-step equation. I didn't do a very good job of writing it out. Let me just make it look a little nicer. So this is a two-step equation. To get C by itself, we'll have to divide by 9. We'll have to subtract 160. We always add or subtract first with two-step equations. Whoops, I think I wrote this wrong. This wasn't 112. This was 560. So we're subtracting 160 on both sides. So here you'll get, well, these don't cancel. 560 minus 160 is 400. And these cancel, and that's equal to 9C. We'll divide both sides by 9. Again, we're trying to get C by itself. So if you do that on your calculator, you get C is 44. Let's go ahead and round to the nearest tenth. So it'd be 44.4 degrees. And this is temperature Celsius, so 44.4 degrees Celsius. That's how we write that. And that's our final answer. So 112 degrees, we know that to be very hot. In most countries across the world, they would think of that as 44.4 degrees Celsius. Doesn't really sound that hot when you think of it, but you've got to understand Celsius temperature to realize that's a hot temperature. All right, let's go ahead and move on to 7. So here, you're supposed to find y when x is 3. So let's go ahead and plug in 3 for x. Of course, 2 times 3 is 6. We get 6 plus 4y equals 14. And This is a two-step equation. We'll need to subtract 6 on both sides. We'll get 4y equals 14 minus 6 is 8. So 4 times 2 would be 8. You're going to get y equals 2. All right, let's move on to numbers 8 through 11 here. Let me adjust my camera. All right, so here it says solve each formula for the specified variable. And sometimes students try to do these in one step. These first ones aren't too bad, but it's best to take it step by step. So in this problem, we're solving for h. So we want to get h by itself. And so we're going to use our equation solving skills here, just like we were doing up above. It's just now everything's letters, or there's a lot more letters. So if it's b times h and I'm trying to get rid of the b, the opposite of multiplying by b is dividing by b. Of course, whatever we do to one side, we'll do to the other. And so we get a over b is equal to h, because these b's cancel. So you can see that everything's letters. We're not getting h as some number. In fact, really all we're doing is changing or rearranging this formula. Currently, it says a equals b times h, but now it's solved for h, and we have h equals a over b. If you don't like your h on the right, you can always put it on the left, but it doesn't really matter which side it's on. All right, you should be able to do number 9. It's very similar to the one we just did. Let's see how you guys did. If you're solving for t, that means we need to get rid of the r, and since it's r times t, we'll have to divide both sides by r. And so d over r is equal to t, or t is equal to d over r. So basically you can find the time by dividing the distance by the rate. All right, go ahead and try number 10. And actually 11 is very similar if you want to try that one. All right, let's see how you guys did. So if I want to get y by itself, then I need to get rid of this 2x term. And to get rid of a term, we've learned that you just add the opposite, or you could think of it as subtracting 2x, and we'll do that to each side. Notice 2x and a minus 2x does give you 0, and 0 plus y gives you y. On the other side, be careful. This is 8 minus 2x. One's a constant and the other one's a variable. You cannot do anything more there. Can't combine those together. Notice we did solve for y, and so we're done. All right, let's look at number 11. We're trying to get h by itself, so let's get rid of that 64. Opposite of subtracting 64 is adding 64. Now be careful here. This is d plus 64. Oh, I'm so sorry, that just keeps bouncing around. So this is d plus 64 is equal to h. These guys add up to 0. Again, there's nothing we can do to add these. Now if you want, you could put the h on the left and put the d plus 64 on the right, but we can't combine these. And so that is our final answer, d plus 64. H equals d plus 64. All right, let's go ahead and flip to the next page. So these ones are a little bit harder. If you want, you can try them and then watch the video. All right, so if I'm trying to solve for s sub 3, I need to get I should say I need to get rid of these two terms here. So we'll have to subtract s1, we'll have to subtract s2, and we'll do that from both sides. So basically I'm going to have to subtract s1 and s2 from the left, and minus S1 minus S2 on the right. So on the left, you'll have P minus S1 minus S2 is equal to S3. By the way, this is the formula for the perimeter of a triangle. So you have three sides. And so that's how you find perimeter. You add the three sides. That's what the formula is saying. But if you know the perimeter and the first two sides, you can take the perimeter and subtract these two sides, and you get the third side. So again, if you prefer, you can put S3 on the left. It's equal to the perimeter minus S1 minus S2. My grandkids are playing in the other room, so you may hear them. Let's look at number 13. So the first thing we want to do here, just as if we were solving equations, is clear fractions. Let's get rid of the fractions before we do anything else. And there's only one denominator, so our LCD is 2. So we get 2a. Well, and on the other side, 2 times a half is 1, and 1 times BH is just BH. So the only thing left to do if I'm trying to get h by itself is divide by b. The b's cancel here. We get 2a over b is equal to h. All right, we've got 2 more to go here. So we talked about how to solve word problems. Oops, let me make this just a little smaller. Maybe we'll refocus things. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this. It says name your variable or variables, then write an equation that fits the problem and use your equation to solve the problem. It says you've decided to fence an area of your backyard for your dog. The length of the area is 1 meter less than twice the width. The perimeter of the area is 70 meters. Find the length and width of the rectangular area. So it's a rectangular area. The first thing I would do is draw a rectangle. So let's see, the length is 1 meter less than twice the width. So it's comparing the length to the width. In fact, you could write L is or equals 1 meter less than twice the width. Well, twice the width is 2w, and then it's 1 less than that, you subtract off 1. So when we translate this, and this is important, you need to be able to read this and know that this is the same. The length, that's L, is equals 1 meter less than twice the width. Well, twice the width is 2w. If you want 1 meter less than that, you subtract off 1. All right, and so we want to write the length and the width using one variable. We're comparing the length to the width, so we'll call the width w, and the length is 2w minus 1. So now everything is in terms of w, our length and our width. So now there's a formula for perimeter. We were working with it on the other side of the page. It's P equals 2L plus 2W. Well, notice it tells us the perimeter here is 70 is equal to 2L. Well, remember, we wrote the length in terms of W. So that's 2W minus 1 plus 2W. Remember, we called the width W. Notice we do have 2 widths and we do have 2 lengths, and so that's all that's going on here. So this is an equation to be solved. So again, if you, I would encourage you to do that, solve that for W, and then see if you can answer the question. All right, so let's look at this. This is going to be 4W. We're just doing distributive property here. Minus 2 plus 2W. Notice we still have some simplifying to do. 4W and 2W, that's going to be 6W, so we'll end up with 6W minus 2 It's a two-step equation. We'll add 2 to both sides. We'll get 72 is equal to 6W. Now hopefully you know your 12s. That's 6 times 12, but we can divide by 6 and you get W is 12. So the width is 12. Notice everything's in meters here. And the length, remember it was twice the width minus 1, or 1 less than twice the width, so this will be 2 times 12 minus 1. That's 24 minus 1, which is 23. Alright, so this is our final answer. Now, as I've said before, it's always a good idea to check your answer, and we can do that pretty easily here. So we want to see that the perimeter is 70. So it'd be 2 times the length, which is 23, plus 2 times the width, which is 12. Again, we actually want to make sure this equals 70. This is 46 plus 24, which does equal 70, and so it does check. And you can verify that the length is 1 less than twice the width. Twice the width is 24, and 1 less than that is 23. And so this does check. All right, let's look at number 15. It says, for the holidays, Chris and Alicia drove 476 miles. They left their house at 7 a.m. and arrived at their destination at 4 p.m. They stopped for 1 hour to rest and refuel. What was their average rate of speed? So hopefully you recognize that you need the dirt formula here. And we're looking for the average rate of speed. That would be R. We want to know what R is. That means they must have given us the distance and the time. So the distance they drove was 476 miles. We don't know R. Now be careful here with the time. We want to know how long did they drive. They left at 7 a.m. and they arrived at 4 p.m. So 7 up to 12 p.m., that's 5 hours, and then another 4 hours to get to 4 p.m. So that's 9 hours. However, they did stop for an hour to rest, so you have to subtract that, and so this is 8. And so basically I would write this as 476 equals 8R. We'll divide both sides by 8 to get R by itself. And when you divide there, you should get 59.5 miles per hour. Or you could put mph. So you'll notice this one really, you're just using the formula and plugging the numbers in the right place, solving for the number that you don't know. This one involves a little bit more work. You got to be able to put this equation together. But drawing the picture and making sure you put everything in terms of W makes it possible to solve this. All right, that's going to be it for this video. I'll go ahead and stop it right there.